Good morning, dear students. Today we are going to discuss about medulla oblongata, the gross features of the medulla oblongata. So medulla oblongata, as you can see in this picture, it is a direct upward continuation of the spinal cord. So it extends from foramen magnum to the lower border of pons. Actually, this is the posterior view of the brainstem, where you can make out the posterior surface of the pons and posterior surface of the medulla oblongata. So medulla oblongata, it is a direct upward continuation of the spinal cord, and it extends up to lower border of the pons, from foramen magnum to the lower border of the pons. So this medulla oblongata, it forms lowest part of the brainstem, and it lies vertically in the anterior part of the posterior cranial fossa. Okay. Let us discuss the external features of the medulla oblongata. The medulla is divided into right and left halves by anterior median fissure. As you can see, this is anterior median fissure, and posteriorly you have posterior median fissure, like you can see in this diagram. This is posterior view, so of the brainstem. This is the medulla oblongata. So this is posterior median fissure. So medulla oblongata, it is divided into right and left symmetrical halves by anterior median fissure and posterior median sulcus. So this is anterior median fissure and this is posterior median sulcus. So it is interrupted in its lower part by bundles of fibers crossing obliquely from one side to the other, the decussation of pyramids. Okay, so that is you can make out here. This is the place where you find the decussation of the pyramids. So in the lower part, it is interrupted by the bundles of fibers crossing obliquely from one side to the other side. That is the decussation of the pyramids. The posterior median sulcus continues below within the corresponding sulcus of the spinal cord, and it is present only in the lower half of the medulla. Okay. The posterior median sulcus, it continues below with the corresponding sulcus of the spinal cord, and it is present only in the lower half of the medulla oblongata. So that is about the posterior median sulcus, whereas the anterior median sulcus or the anterior median fissure, in the lower part, it is interrupted by fibers crossing obliquely from one side to the other. Those are the decussation of the pyramids. Then we have anterolateral sulcus. You can make out here, this is anterolateral sulcus along the lateral border of the pyramid. So this elevation is known as pyramid. We have two pyramids in the ventral aspect of the medulla oblongata. So along the lateral border of the pyramid, we have anterolateral sulcus, and from the anterolateral sulcus, you have the rootlets of the hypoglossal nerve, the 12th cranial nerve. Rootlets, they emerge from the anterolateral sulcus. The posterior lateral sulcus lies between the olive. This elevation is known as olive. This is olive, and inferior cerebellar peduncle. Inferior cerebellar peduncle. Along it emerges the rootlets of 9th, 10th, and 11th cranial nerves. That is, 9th is glossopharyngeal, 10th is vagus, and 11th is cranial root of accessory nerves. They emerge through the posterior lateral sulcus, which is between the olive and the inferior cerebellar peduncle. Features of the ventral aspect of the medulla oblongata. Pyramids, number one. So these are two elongated elevations, one on either side of the anterior median fissure, and are produced by underlying corticospinal or the pyramidal fibers. Then we have olives. These are oval elevations posterior lateral to the pyramids. As you can see in this picture, they are produced by an underlying mass of gray matter called inferior olivary nucleus. Okay, so pyramids are produced by underlying corticospinal fibers, whereas olives, they are produced by inferior olivary nucleus. Features on the ventral aspect. Rootlets of the hypoglossal nerve, then inferior cerebellar peduncles attach the medulla with the cerebellum. Okay, inferior cerebellar peduncle, it attaches medulla with the cerebellum. Then we have rootlets of the 9th, 10th, and 11th cranial nerves. These are features on the ventral aspect of the medulla oblongata. Features on the dorsal aspect of the medulla oblongata. So we have closed and the open part. So features of the closed part on either side of the posterior median sulcus. So this is posterior median sulcus. On either side of the posterior median sulcus presents three longitudinal elevations. From medial to lateral, what are these elevations? Fasciculus gracilis. You can see here, this is fasciculus gracilis from medial to lateral. Number one, fasciculus gracilis, fasciculus cuneatus, and the inferior cerebellar peduncle. This is the inferior cerebellar peduncle. So from medial to lateral, the three longitudinal elevations, that is fasciculus gracilis, fasciculus cuneatus, and inferior cerebellar peduncle. Apparents of the fasciculus gracilis and fasciculus cuneatus, they expand from gracile and cuneate tubercles. Okay, we have here the gracile tubercle and cuneate tubercle. So elevation present lateral to the cuneate tubercle, that is the tuber cinereum. Tuber cinereum, it is produced by the spinal nucleus of trigeminal nerve. So these are the features of the closed part of the medulla oblongata on the dorsal axis. Features of the open part of the medulla forms lower part of the floor of the fourth ventricle. This cavity, as you can see in this picture, this is cavity of the fourth ventricle. What is present in the ventricle? So, in case of brain or the brainstem, any cavity is there. There you have CSF, cerebrospinal fluid. So ventricles are cavities which contains cerebrospinal fluid. So features of the open part. The open part forms the open part of the medulla forms lower part of the floor of the fourth ventricle. Okay, this is the lower part of the floor of the fourth ventricle, and it presents a number of features such as the median sulcus. This is the median sulcus exactly in the center. Hypoglossal and vagal triangles at this region. I am showing you hypoglossal and vagal triangles, vestibular area, and area postrema and stria medullaris. Okay, so these are the features in the open part of the medulla oblongata. Medulla oblongata is the part of the brainstem between pons and spinal cord. This is the pons and this is spinal cord. Between these two, you have medulla oblongata. It extends through foramen magnum to the level of the atlas. Medulla is vital for our function. Without medulla, we die. Okay, because it has cardiac and respiratory centers. Above the foramen magnum, it is embraced dorsally by cerebellar hemispheres. The lower end, which contains upward continuation of the central canal of the spinal cord, is the closed part of the medulla oblongata, which we have seen in the previous slides. The upper end where the canal comes to the surface has the lower part of the floor of the fourth ventricle. That is the open part. Opens into the floor of the fourth ventricle. Medulla oblongata is about 3 centimeters. Lowest 3 centimeters of the brainstem. It extends from pontomedullary junction until plane below foramina magnum for about 0.5 centimeters. Medulla spinalis have a central canal which prolonged into the lower half to open into the fourth ventricle as its upper half. CSF is encircle the medulla oblongata from outside, that is subarachnoid space, and inside central canal. Medulla oblongata is between the two lobes of the cerebellum, that is in the anterocerebellar nodes. So this we have seen already. We have pyramid, which are produced by corticospinal fibers. Then we have olive, which is produced by underlying inferior olivary nucleus. Then lateral to it, we have the inferior cerebellar peduncle, which enters the cerebellum medial to and below the middle peduncle. Cranial nerves from medulla oblongata. I told you that 9th, 10th, and 11th cranial nerves and hypoglossal nerves. From the 4 cranial nerves that exit through the medulla, one exit between the pyramid and the olive, that is 12th, and the other 3 exit between the olive and inferior cerebellar peduncle, that is 9th, 10th, and 11th cranial nerves. So we have seen here that this is the floor of the lower part of the floor of the fourth ventricle, which has got hypoglossal triangle. This is the hypoglossal triangle, and number 2 is the vagal triangle, number 3 the gracile, and number 4 punio tubercles. Okay, let us discuss the internal structure of the spinal cord. Sorry, internal structure of the medulla oblongata. So if you see the spinal cord, as in case of the spinal cord, same in the medulla also, white matter surrounds the central mass of gray matter. But eventually the gray matter is broken up into nuclei that are separated by nerve fibers. So the internal structure is well studied by examining the transverse section at these levels, that is at the level of decussation of the pyramids, then at the level of the sensory decussation, and at the level of the olives. So let us look at the transverse section of medulla oblongata at the level of pyramidal decussation. This is also known as the great motor decussation. So what are the important features that we can observe at this level? The nucleus gracilis and nucleus cuneatus. The nucleus gracilis and the nucleus cuneatus, they appear as a narrow strip-like projections from the posterior aspect of the central gray matter. The apex of the posterior horn, it swells up to form nucleus of the spinal tract of trigeminal nerve. So we can see here the apex of the posterior horn swells up to form the nucleus of the spinal tract of the trigeminal nerve. The spinal tract of trigeminal nerve is a bundle of fibers which caps the nucleus of the spinal tract of trigeminal nerve. So decussation of the pyramidal tracts forms most important features of the medulla oblongata at this level. About 75% fibers of the pyramidal tract, they run backwards and laterally across the midline to reach the lateral white column. Okay. Lateral white column of the opposite side of the spinal cord and continue as lateral cortico-spinal tract, as you can see here. Lateral cortico-spinal tract. So about 75% of the fibers of the pyramidal tract, they run backwards and laterally cross the middle line to reach the lateral white column of the opposite side of the spinal cord and continue as the lateral cortico-spinal tract. Anterior horn are detached from the central gray matter. So each detached anterior horn divides to form spinal nucleus of the accessory nerve. So these are the detached anterior horns. They form the spinal nucleus of accessory nerve and the supraspinal nucleus of the first cervical nerve. Supraspinal nucleus of the first cervical nerve. So the nucleus of the accessory nerve, it extends downwards up to the fifth cervical spinal segment. Okay, that you should remember. So there is a diffuse zone appears containing a network of fibers and scattered nerve cells within it in the lateral white column called reticular formation. We can say reticular formation in the lateral white column. So diffuse zone appears containing network of fibers and scattered nerve cells within it in the lateral white column called reticular formation. Now coming to the other section, transverse section of medulla oblongata at the level of sensory decussation. So this section passes through middle of the medulla and it contains following features. The nucleus gracilis and nucleus cuneatus become more pronounced and are separated from the central gray matter. You can see here the nucleus gracilis and nucleus cuneatus. The fibers of the fasciculus gracilis and fasciculus cuneatus, they terminate in these nuclei. Okay. The internal arcuate fibers. You can see here, these are the internal arcuate fibers, the red color fibers, arising from the gracile and cuneate tubercles. They course forward and medially around the central gray matter and decussate with corresponding fibers of the opposite side in the median plane and then turn upward to ascend as the medial lemniscus. You can see this is the medial lemniscus on the opposite side, close to the medial plane. So that is about internal arcuate fibers. Immediately dorsolateral to the cuneate nucleus, we have accessory cuneate nucleus, which receives the more lateral fibers of the fasciculus cuneatus and gives rise to posterior external arcuate fibers conveying proprioceptive impulses to the cerebellum of the same site through inferior cerebellar peduncle. So the separated spinal nucleus and tract of the trigeminal nerve lies ventrolateral to the cuneate nucleus. The lower part of the inferior lobar nucleus is seen. The pyramids lie in either side of the anterior median fissure, as you can see here. These are the pyramids. The central gray matter contains hypoglossal nucleus, as you can see, this is the red color one, hypoglossal nucleus, dorsal nucleus of vagus, the 10th cranial nerve, and nucleus of solitary tract, or the solitary nucleus, that is central gray matter. The spinocerebellar and lateral spinothalamic tracts, they lie in the anterolateral area of the lateral white column. So the spinocerebellar. So in the lateral white column, we can see the spinocerebellar and lateral spinothalamic tracts. So we can make out here, this is the lateral spinothalamic tract, and this is the spinocerebellar tract. So spinocerebellar tract and lateral spinothalamic tract lie in the anterolateral area of the lateral white column. Then lateral and anterior spinothalamic tracts are very close to each other, and they are collectively form spinal lemniscus. Okay. The lateral and anterior spinothalamic tracts are very close to each other and collectively form spinal lemniscus. Blood supply of the medulla oblongata, anterior spinal artery, posterior spinal artery, vertebral artery, posterior inferior cerebellar artery. Anterior spinal artery supplies the paramedian region of the caudal medulla, inferior medulla. Posterior spinal artery supplies the rostral areas including gracile and cuneate fasciculi and nuclei and dorsal areas of the inferior cerebellar peduncle. Vertebral artery, the bulbar branches supply areas both the caudal and rostral medulla. Posterior inferior cerebellar artery supplies lateral medullary areas.